Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Thank you guys for pressing play on another one of our episodes. This week, I'm joined by some members of our Fall Obsession team who recently participated in our staff's 2025 Texas Sandhill Crane Hunt in Lubbock, Texas. Awesome experience. We had some veterans in camp that have done this hunt before. We had some newcomers and new first timers in camp that had never hunted sandhill crane before, and we get a few of them on the podcast for this episode to talk about their experiences, to talk about sandhill crane hunting in general, and just some of the unique things about it, why it's important from a conservation standpoint, and then just to hang out, talk hunting, and have a good time like we always do with our Fall Obsession team. It's a great podcast. It's one that will hopefully make you feel like you are sitting in camp with us, and I hope you guys enjoy. Before we get to the conversation, I'm going to give a shout out to some of our partners that make this show happen, and they have discount codes for you guys. So don't fast forward. Make sure that you take advantage of these exclusive deals for our Fall Obsession podcast listeners. The first one is Hoot Camo. We absolutely love our Hoot Camo gear. We wear it all the time here at Fall Obsession. And if you are interested in checking out what they have and placing an order, you can do it at hootcamo.com and use the code FallObsession15 to save some money at checkout. Bear River Archery is the official bow shop of Fall Obsession podcast. Justin Canaday over there at the shop in Van Alstyne, Texas. He does a phenomenal job helping us with all of our archery needs. Can't say enough good things about him. If you are in the North Texas area like I am, be sure you go up there and check out Bear River. If you are not local to him and you still want to show him some support and give him your business, you can shop online with Bear River and use the code FALLOBSESSION, all one word, lowercase letters, to save yourself some money. Tacticam Reveal is the official cell cam of us here at Fall Obsession. Can't say enough about my Tacticam Reveal cameras. I've run several different brands of trail cameras and cellular cameras over the years, and none of them compare to what the Tacticam Reveal is able to do from a photo standpoint, from a quality standpoint, from a data collection standpoint. There are so many different things that you can do on the Reveal app, and with those photos collecting data, tracking your deer, all sorts of incredible things. If you have not made the switch to Reveal cell cams yet, you're missing out. Go check them out today and see what all they have to offer. Finally, the Outdoor Call radio app is a podcast partner, and that is a place where you guys can listen to Fall Obsession podcasts every single week on Mondays, same day as our new publications. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he has an app that you can download on any device, stream those hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. We're on there on Mondays, like I just mentioned. So go download the Outdoor Call radio app today. It's free, and you can start streaming immediately. If this is your first time listening to Fall Obsession Podcast, thank you. Make sure that you hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you, if you have not done that already. Turn your notifications on if that's an option. That way, you know every week when we drop new podcast episodes and podcast videos. If you like watching the podcast video version, you can find those on our YouTube channel. Be sure you are subscribed over there. We also do some live podcasts and shows from time to time. It's not every single episode that we're doing that, but it's pretty frequent. This one was one of them, for example. And you can catch those live shows only on our YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube. Fallobsession.com. That's the website. All of our content filters through there. Our shows, our films, our educational content, our wild game recipes, our articles, all of it is on there. We also have an online store if you want to pick up a hat or a shirt, support the brand. We always appreciate that. Social media, wherever you guys are, we are probably there too. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We post daily frequent updates from our team and their endeavors and experiences in the field. Make sure you are following us on all the socials. And last but not least, Carbon TV. If you guys have not heard of it, you got to go check it out. You got to download the app. It is a free hunting and outdoor streaming platform for you where you can stream hundreds of different hunting shows, podcasts, films, live feeds, all sorts of different stuff right from the Carbon TV platform. Fall Obsession produces 4 different shows on Carbon TV. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on Carbon TV, as well as our 2 different hunting shows, Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Guys, go check out Carbon TV and start streaming today. That's it for me, taking you to the conversation with the Texas Sandhill Crane crew. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
The power lies within that middle ground.
Hunting transformed my life.
I think you have to be built somewhat different.
That Dale Brisby's a super puncher.
When you get Pop-Tarts on the next Walmart order? I'm serious.
Because to come into this country and stay dedicated to that, it was pretty awesome.
If it's only for one, then you've done your job.
We have to do what's right for the wildlife, and that's our responsibility as hunters.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. This podcast is brought to you guys in partnership with Hoot Camo, Reveal Cell Cams, Bear River Archery, and the Outdoor Call radio app. My name is Sam Thrash, hosting you guys. Got some Fall Obsession team members with me here today. Todd Sellin, our staff manager, back on the show. And then we got a couple of our pro and field staffers, Kess Fisher, Mark Steenland. Welcome to the show, guys. Happy to have y'all.
Thank you.
For having us.
Yeah. I always enjoy recording with our team members. These are always the episodes that are certainly the most laid back, chill, and just it gives you that hunting camp feel for sure. And I know you guys have experienced a lot of that firsthand here recently, and we're going to get into that. We might have a couple more guys pop in here that we're going to try to make it to the show, but we had to, at some point, we had to get this thing rolling and everything, so we're kicking it off. But Tyler and Andy might join us later. Andy is actively out ice fishing right now, so he might be, wetting a line while he's on the show. That'd be a first. But and then we are live streaming on YouTube today as well. So if you guys are tuning in on the live stream, thank you all first off. But hit up that chat section if you got questions throughout the show. You want to ask the guys here about their hunt, about their experience, or anything in general. Feel free, and we're monitoring that chat live. So we're happy to talk to you through that on the podcast itself. But guys, y'all just went down to Texas, or came down to Texas, I should say, went to Lubbock on a sandhill crane hunt. And Kess, you and Todd, I know, have done this before, right? Is that correct?
Yep. Quite a few times.
Mark, was this your first one?
This was my first crane hunt. I've been hunting birds in Michigan here for a long time, but yeah, that was my first crane hunt.
Gotcha. So I think the perfect way to break the ice and get our conversation going is I'll put the spotlight on you first, Mark, because you're the guy that got to experience this for the first time. So talk to us a little bit about your expectations going into it, kind of what you thought it would be, and then let's compare that to in reality what it really was for you and the experience you had.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with my expectation. I mean, every September here, we hunt geese, and I kind of expected it to be something like that, which is here in Michigan. I mean, set out a layout, set out a couple dozen decoys, and you call. And when we got down there and started hunting, I mean, that's exactly what we did. Is we went around like a irrigation pivot there and started setting out layout blinds and brushing them in. But what was really surprising is a crane call sounds out of this world. If anyone's even heard a crane, just not even hunting, just out in the wild, it sounds like something from a fictional book or something crazy. But I mean, they just respond and communicate so much more differently than anything I've ever heard. Mm. And then the other thing is I expected them to come into like 2 or 3 packs maybe. No, it was like first light, just flock of 60 of them. It was crazy.
Wowzer.
So it was different.
So everybody that I've talked to, and this is coming from a guy, I have not experienced sandhill crane hunting yet. So I at some point when y'all come down and do this, I'm gonna have to participate.
Yeah.
I know I'm missing out, but everybody that I've talked to or heard from, or I tuned in and I've watched y'all's couch chat that y'all filmed in camp there and everything, and everybody was just talking about the size of these birds in the sky and the difference that is from your traditional waterfowl hunting and what, duck or geese hunters might be accustomed to. So let's talk a little bit about that as far as, you pop up out of the blind and you got a pterodactyl raining down on you. What's that like?
Yeah.
I tell you what, before the hunt, you know, and I know we've done this before, we lay out blinds, but before the hunt, I felt like I was out of shape. When I came back, I got washboard abs. I'm telling you.
Doing your crunches, getting out of there.
Doing my crunches, yeah, up, down, up, down, up, down.
So what did they have y'all set up in as far as that goes? Because I know there's different styles of blinds and stuff for situations like this. So what was the setup they had for y'all?
Well, we were in layout blinds. We had that were brushed in with tumbleweed and different types of natural brush that you would find in that area. Threw some corn stalks in because we were out in a cornfield and just different stuff like that. We were actually we were on an embankment, weren't we? We were kind of up on an embankment. So
we're on the top side of it. It was a county road.
We had a little ditch behind us that was full of water, so that kind of helped conceal us on the first day anyway. Second day, we were just out in the middle of a field, out in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
So we were really rushed in up against the embankment. So we were kind of sitting up, and then the layout blind, if you haven't had experience, Sam, layout blind, as you crawl in, it's kind of like a cockpit. So you crawl in and then you just lay there, you just lay on your back and you have the gun at the ready. And when you can see through the meshing and the little hole that you have. And then when the guide calls to shoot, right, all you do is just sit up and pick a bird kind of in your lane. So we're set up in a big long row. And so you have different areas that you're kind of assigned to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if there's a bird way over off to my right, I'm not going to want to shoot across, because not only are you shooting over other staffers or other people, but you're shooting birds out from in front of other people. So you don't want to do that. You want to kind of stick to your area. So,
gotcha.
So that's kind of what it was. We're in these canopy blinds and I'm sorry, not canopy, but layout blinds and in a row. And that's kind of how it went. You know, I kidded saying, man, this is kind of, you're so brushed in. I was sitting there. I'm like, man, when I die, when I move on, this is going to be my coffin. But of course, knowing Heather, she would probably just throw me in a Nike box or something.
Nike box.
You'll be lucky if you get Nike.
Yeah, that's true.
Them layout blinds cost about as much as a coffin.
Yeah, right.
So you spoke to the call, I believe, as far as hitting with that, but do y'all have a decoy spread or something else set up for that to bring him in? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I got you. I don't know if Kess wants to talk about that or.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice being down there a few times now. I remember our first time several years ago when we first got there, and I'd never waterfowl hunted, so we pull up with the truck and trailer in the middle of the field, and I was kind of like, I had no idea what to do. Somebody give me an order. Like, I follow directions good. Somebody tell me what to do. But This year was nice because we had a couple of us veterans that were back out there. So I feel like the morning was very, very swift. We got the decoy spread set up relatively quickly while the guy brushed everything into his liking. And then one of the favorite parts about that whole hunt is just being able to sit back and watch the Texas sunrise. I mean, once you get everything set quick and you get to lay down, you got plenty of time before the birds are coming in yet. And, I brought a couple of my buddies from Indiana with us too. And they were just sitting in the blinds and they couldn't believe their eyes. They were like, this is crazy. I was like, I told you all it's worth the trip.
Yeah.
Not to mention the size of the bird once they start flying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you get them on the ground and you pick them up. You still don't really understand how big they are until you actually get your hands on them.
Right.
And you see the wing spread and it's like, oh my goodness, this is huge. And people ask me all the time, well, does it provide enough meat to feed you? I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, one bird will feed my entire family. I mean, you get 4 really nice steaks, and then if you keep the drums, of course, you can make an additional meal with just the meat from the drumsticks, right? And so, yeah, definitely, you can definitely create a meal out of that too. But that first crane hunt is where Kess and I met for the first time. He came.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's before he was a staffer. He became a staffer after that crane hunt.
Yep, I came down with Cut and Barrel and met up with you guys, and we had a good time. And it just worked out from there. So
and we maxed out in 20 minutes.
yeah, right.
He's like, this is easy.
I don't know, that hunt was probably the only crane hunt I've ever been on where the guide was a little bit more methodical or particular about his spread. Just going back to the spread conversation. I mean, Mark, you hunt birds a lot more than I do.
Right.
So you have a level of expertise here, but it seemed like they weren't very picky about how we set the birds out. Just set them up. They'll be feeding regardless. They're going to come in to feed. And to me, on day one, we had a hell of a time getting the birds to land in the spread. We had plenty of birds coming down, but they were coming down, 50 yards outside of the spread right out in front of us, or 100 yards off to the right. So I don't necessarily know if it had anything to do with where those birds were coming down or where the food was, but the spread for me, you might be able to touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, so really it depends on the time of year, and also I guess the bird you're chasing. Like, just for example, like our early season Canadian geese up here, you could have one decoy out of line and birds will flare you all day, and it's up to you to figure that out. Whereas to like puddle ducks, like mallards, frick, I can go out in a swamp, throw them anywhere I want, and 9 times out of 10 they'll come right in. Cranes, I don't know from really personal experience because I've never hunted them by myself per se, but I have heard that they are somewhat alike to geese, as to where you have a decoy here or decoy there that they don't really like, and they'll keep on moving.
Well, see, that right there is crazy to me too, because when I was up north there in Michigan with y'all, we were out there hunting Canadian graders. So that's what we had in our spread. And Todd, you remember sitting in that A-frame, and we had crane that were committing to the spread. They were trying to land down in there. We were almost shooing them off. We didn't have a single crane decoy out there in the field. So what did they like so much about that?
Right, exactly. The only difference is you can't shoot them here in Michigan. Yeah,
right.
There's a bill right now that they're working on in Congress to allow us to hunt cranes here in Michigan, which would be awesome because they're all over here usually. But yeah, absolutely right. We saw that more day two when we were hunting the lessers, right? The lesser Canadians. We had many volleys. We had several volleys for a while there. It was a volley after volley after volley after volley. It was really, really cool. But we also had some that were coming in and they were coming in perfectly, and all of a sudden they just get held up and they flared, like what Mark alluded to. So, so we didn't know if there was something that was kind of spooking them off or spooking them away, or what the case may have been. But we did experience that day too. We didn't experience that. Well, we did a little bit, I guess. We had a couple of packs come in like they were going to land right in the decoys, and then all of a sudden they kind of glided right by us and landed out in the cornfield, further away than we could shoot. So, yeah.
I was gonna. You kind of brought up how there's that bill on the table in Michigan to try and change crane hunting and everything up there, but and I was hoping that Tyler would be on here to speak to it, but I imagine some of you guys might be able to in your own way, as far as what makes Texas so appealing for sandhill crane hunting.
So for me, it's because we can hunt them in Texas.
Right.
So that's, I'm sure there are states that are closer. But really, I love Texas in general, because some of my favorite people are in Texas.
You don't say.
We did some research while we were down there too, and I think the official number was like there's 16 states that you can
17.
17 states.
17.
My bad, Mark.
It's okay.
Most of your states that you're looking at, they have a limit per year, or it's a draw hunt. So like I know down in Kentucky, for me, I have property down in Kentucky that I can hunt, but they only do the sandhill crane hunt on a draw, and they actually limit the population you're allowed to take to begin with. So you can only get down there, and I think it's a 2 bird per year limit, but it's on a draw. So you have to be drawing for it to begin with, and then once you get down there and they hit that total number, you can have 0 birds in your bag, and they're calling it quits.
Exactly. Well, and you hit it right on the head too. Part of the attraction is the fact that it's not real complicated to get a sandhill crane license from Texas. I mean, it's just all over the
counter. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That, and you have a daily limit instead of an annual limit, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
If you can get down there for a few more days, you can bag as many as you want.
Right.
When Kess and I hunted geese up here in Michigan, and we had to get a federal duck stamp, which we applied towards the crane hunt, because you have to have one to hunt cranes as well. So like I said, it's very, very easy to get a tag down there. And the time of year that we go down, it's really nice to get that little break in the weather. We went down there, and it was what was it, 20 degrees the first morning, 17 degrees the next morning. And that's what we had been experiencing up here for a few weeks. So it wasn't terrible, but then it warmed right up to about 60 degrees. So that was nice. I mean, the day we met Tyler at his house, I think it was in the 70s, mid 70s. So we were all in shorts and t-shirts on his
playing disc golf in the backyard.
Yeah.
The other thing was the price of the license. 80, I think for non-resident, it was for everything you needed for waterfowl and cranes. It was $84. Does that sound right, Todd and Kess?
Yeah.
And actually, when we got back, my dad and I were having a conversation because he's a pretty avid big game hunter. He's like, man, if you want to go on vacation nowadays, it's a good time to be a bird hunter because you can spend between $1,200 and $2,000 and go on an awesome hunt. To whereas if you're a big game hunter and you want to shoot something big like caribou and you need to go guided or something, that's going to be like 30-40 grand.
Oh, easy. Easy.
Yep. Now, and that's only the 5-day license down there in Texas too, by the way.
Right. I think
just to emphasize that
year-long
Texas
was a lot more.
here.
Yeah, typically when we go, we hunt for 2 days, and so the 5-day license suits us perfectly fine.
Yeah, I fired up the Google machine on internet.com, and I since Mark corrected Kess, I'm going to correct Mark. It's actually 18 states. So
I guess Michigan legislature is working quick then, huh?
Well, Michigan's not on here yet, but Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alabama, Kentucky, and Tennessee. In some form or fashion, you can. But it goes on to say that the central flyway, like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, is like the prime Sandhill Crane states right there.
Right.
So I got you. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, every time we've gone crane hunting, we've either maxed out or came very close to maxing out. You know, this time would we get like 26 birds and 27 was our max, you know?
Wow.
That first time we went, we maxed out both days that we went hunting. The other time we went out, the first day, I think we were, I don't know, maybe 3 short of maxing out. And then the next day, that's when we had that late migration, and we were starting to see way more geese than we were cranes. So it turned into a crane / goose hunt. And I think we only ended up with 3 or 4 cranes, but we had a whole bunch of geese that time. So.
No, we ended up, we split it down the line. I think we ended up with like 10 crane that day and 11 speckle bellies, something of the sort. So, I mean, still a great day. But
yeah. So, you know, the point is you're going to see action, you know, when we go down to Texas. So again, that's part of the attraction. We don't want to go out there in the field and lay in a blind and look at a blue sky, even though it's pretty to go out there. The sunrise is great. The camaraderie is great, but in the end you want some action too, right?
Right. No, I mean, that's hunting with going on a non-resident hunt somewhere, or especially hunting with an outfitter. Right. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, I know we preach here at Fall Obsession. It's not all about the kill. You know, a lot of it comes down to the experience and the people you get to share camp with. But at the end of the day, when you are traveling a ways for a hunt, you want to be successful. I felt bad last year on the turkey hunt for Kess because he came to Texas from Indiana and didn't go home with a bird. I was like, oh man, I was really hoping to get these non-resident boys a turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
We came home with plenty of memories on that one.
It was a good time for sure. So yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too. When you drive, so from Michigan to Tyler's house, it's a 10-hour drive, and then from Tyler's house to Lubbock or Lubbock area, it's another 10-hour drive. So you're spending a lot of time with each other in the car, and so just that camaraderie of hanging out and watching Andy get car sick and having to stop.
Oh no!
That was the longest 10 hours of my life, guys.
Yeah, Kess is sitting right next to him.
Me and Andy are packed in the back of Tyler's Honda Ridgeline, and Andy, I don't know if he had some bad sushi or what, but he got car sick, and it was not pretty. From the moment we left, his head was in a bag, and my headphones died too, so I just had nothing. It was just sit there and listen.
You're right.
And
Dude,
it's a ridgeline, so it's kind of compact. It's not like it was a super crew cab.
It's like a car with a box.
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to talk to Tyler about having a Honda Ridgeline. By golly.
It was like that. What were the cars that they kept? Nick and Drew, the Prius.
The Prius.
Nick does not have a Prius anymore. I'll set the record straight with that. He finally got a pickup truck again. Thank God.
Hey, we've all been there before, though.
Oh yeah, no, we've
We've
all had to make it work. I remember my dad telling stories from back in the day on hunting in South Carolina and shooting 2 deer, and he just had a little car and he had one strapped to the hood and one strapped to the trunk and just drove into town like that. So
that's I mean, not a crane story, obviously, but my first buck I ever took, I was hunting with my pops and we took his little Honda Accord because it was a little bit of a drive. I was like, well, if we get something, we can always go back to the house and get my truck. Well, I shot my first buck that morning. We get it all up there, and I'm like, all right, let's head back to the house. We'll go pick up the truck, grab some lunch. We'll come back and grab him. He was like, no, it'll fit. Sure enough, he opened up the trunk, and we stuffed that deer in there and rode all the way back home with its head hanging out for everybody to see.
That's awesome. You put him right in the passenger seat. And
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like Tommy in the back seat.
Todd, you and Kess, y'all have been to Texas Dirt and Breckenridge and everything out there. Kind of the layout and stuff. So yeah, Nick shot that deer, that doe, strapped it to the roof of the Prius. And what's funny is I brought it out of the woods to his Prius in my truck. But I had told him when he got that car, I was like, "Hey, dude, if you kill a deer, you're gonna have to figure it out." I was like, "I ain't driving it into town for you. You're gonna have to figure this out because you gave up your truck."
Right.
And he's like, "No, I'm going to do it." So he strapped that thing to the roof and he drove into town that night and dropped it off at the processor. And by the next day, he's leaving the lease and he meets an oil field guy at the gate and there's like some blood on the side of the Prius. And he's like, "Oh, are you the guy that drove through town last night with a deer on that thing?" It's like, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "Oh, dude, you're famous. Everybody around here is talking about you." And apparently everybody was out that night and they saw that Prius rolling through town with a deer on top. The processor posted on their Facebook page and everybody knew about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Small town problems, but
yeah, world famous. So this year, day 2, they actually had us hunting geese. So it didn't turn into a goose hunt. It was, here are your options. They had so the field we hunted the day before was their field that was getting the most action, and so that's why they put us in. And they didn't have any other fields that were really active at that point. So they came to us and said, "Hey, what if you guys go on a goose hunt for day 2?" And after we talked about it for a little bit, because ultimately we were down there to try to crane hunt, we can goose hunt at home, right? But we ended up making the decision that we're going to go out and shoot some geese instead. And so we ended up, again, another action-packed day and had lots and lots of volleys. And so put a lot of, what do we have, 22 geese that on the ground, the lesser Canadian.
Sounds right, yeah.
So,
which was actually really surprising with the other group that we were sharing the lot, that they were back up before us the first day and even the second day too. And they were very surprised they didn't limit out on the geese while we were out there. But I mean, we had all kinds of birds. It was stupid the amount of birds that were in the sky. We just didn't have a lot committing to the spread. It was a tough morning hunting, but we made the most of the opportunities and we definitely slayed them. Every chance we got, we were putting birds on the ground. So it's just a matter of decoying at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good time.
So and y'all might have mentioned it and I just missed it earlier, but like the first morning when you had all the Sandhill Cranes come in and everything, and you talked about the limit being 27 and y'all put down 26. How many volleys was that? How long did it take to get that many? How long did y'all hunt?
I think we were done by 10:30.
That sounds right.
I'd say it was right around 10 o'clock.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't like before. So when Kess and I went out there the first time when we first met, you could hear, like you said, we went and got the field set up with the decoys. We got the blinds all set up, brushed in, and we were standing there in the dark, and you could actually hear the cranes coming off their roost. You could hear them making their noise, their pterodactyl noise. And we're like, oh boy, we better hurry up and get in our blinds. So we did that. We got into our blinds about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes before shooting light, because you could hear them coming. We hurry up and jumped in right at shooting light. We had volleys going right away.
Oh, wow.
So that was the first time. This time it wasn't like that. We were still out of our blinds because they hadn't come down from the roost yet because it was cold. So our guide was telling us, because it was that cold, they're probably not going to move right away. They're going to wait for it to warm up a little bit before they come down and they start moving and feeding and stuff. And that's what they did. So I think our first volley was probably closer to 9 o'clock. And then it was about an hour and a half of shooting, and then we were almost limited out. So,
which was kind of ironic too, because we noticed when we were setting up a spread, there were headlights a couple miles back behind us. And, the guide was like, well, there's another outfit. They got a lease over there, and they're a little bit closer to the roost. So if you guys hear shooting, don't worry, the birds are still coming. Well, sure enough, an hour before we ever started, they were done shooting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of funny because you heard them shoot, you knew they were coming off the roost and they were moving, but they took a little bit longer to get up and feed and get over to where we were at. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
I imagine.
So,
go ahead.
In terms of number of volleys, I would say, I don't know, 5 or 6 volleys. I'd say about that. The first volley, like Mark mentioned, man, we had about 50 or 60 cranes come right in and deploy. And with the restrictions we have with plugs and only being allowed 3 bullets in our gun, I mean, you go through those bullets quick, when you have that many.
Yeah, shoot 3 and scrambling to reload, I imagine.
Exactly. And we're averaging every volley. We average about 5 or 6 birds on the ground with every volley. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was good shooting.
Yeah.
I imagine for outfitters like that, it's pretty. I couldn't even begin to guess what an outfitter probably pays for a crane lease or something like that on a field or something like that. But I imagine that it's probably a race to find those spots and those prime spots close to the roost and everything for that, and potentially be able to charge more. I would imagine if you got a setup like that. So just speculating.
This was about $100 more than what we paid before, but the outfitter we went through before, you had your lodge that you rented. It was basically a big pole barn, a bunch of bedrooms and bathrooms, and you had a kitchen, refrigerator, that sort of thing, an entertainment area. For this one, it was all inclusive. So we paid, like I said, $100 more. So we paid about $1,000. It was all inclusive. You had again, the lodge, which looked like a pole barn, but you had, we have like 10 bedrooms that you go through a couple doors and then there's just a line of bedrooms. And we had 5 bedrooms, and the other group that was in with us had 5 bedrooms. You had an entertainment area where you had pool, ball table, you had darts, you had arcade games like Pac-Man, and what was the other one Duck Hunter and Buck Hunter, arcade game with the Mark and Tyler and those guys.
We got stuck on that one for a little while. I felt like a kid again, man.
And then they cooked for us. They cooked lunch and dinner for us when we came in, and really good food. Man, those steaks, steaks they made were just monster steaks.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's fact.
Very, very good food. So it was all inclusive. And they cleaned the birds for us. That was included in the price. So it was a really cool place.
They had like a whole station for cleaning birds. Like it was crazy. It's like a little shed they had, and when you pulled in, there's just feathers everywhere on the lawn.
Those guys don't mess around with that.
No.
Yeah. Always got to have that designated area for sure. I remember the skin and pull on our Texas deer hunt, the one where we first met Andy in 2019 down here. That skin and pull could hold 4 deer. And that weekend, there were 10 of us in camp. And that weekend, it was not uncommon for you to come back and have to wait in line. If you weren't the first one back, you'd be waiting in line to skin and quarter your deer. So, yeah, It was.
You guys kept all the meat for that, or did you have to give it to the outfitter?
No, so and that we hadn't talked about that hunt in a long time, but that was it's kind of a friend of a friend is how we got in contact with the landowner out there, and it's a private piece of property owned by a guy that had some oil field businesses, him and a business partner, and they had a very, very large piece of property down there in Central Texas, and yeah, they for years it was just them and anybody like clients or family that they took out there that hunted it. And this place is massive. It's like 5 or 6 thousand acres. And they so like over time they weren't killing enough deer was the
Right.
problem. So friend of a friend put them in touch with us at like, hey, come shoot does and cull bucks. And we're like, say less. We'll be there. So we put together a team of 10 of us from both in the state and staffers from outside the state. I know Drew and Andy came down, Tim Burgess, he came in, another guy or two that we had at the time on the team that, were from out of state. They came in, and me, Nick, my dad, and some other folks from down here participated. And yeah, a 3-day hunt just shooting does and cull bucks. And I think in 3 days we killed 31 deer out there between the 10 of us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was exhausting, but it was a good time. That's where the famous zebra video from Andy came from. Is from that time in camp. So yeah, that was the zebra moment. His very first Texas deer hunt has a zebra walkout. But
yeah, and you wouldn't expect that for your very first Texas deer hunt.
No. Drew texted me. He's like, "Hey, is there exotics on the place?" And I was at camp, and I was like, "Yeah, I think there are like some stuff." He's like, "Well, that makes sense because I'm looking at a zebra." I was like, "Well, I didn't know there was a zebra out here. Do not shoot that."
Yeah, although if you talk about people in Africa about zebras, they look at zebras the same way we look at coyotes here.
So yeah, I've heard that.
Really?
Yeah, like a nuisance animal that they need to get rid of.
Wow.
So yeah, I've heard that a few times now.
Yeah, I got plenty of coyotes down here that need to go right now. They're crawling all over the place, but
yeah, it's breeding season up here now. And so I think we talked about that the other day, Sam, and
yeah.
I got to get my camera stern back on here though, because I froze them for Christmas so we could make sure we had a good Christmas. So
so that you weren't checking your reveal cell cam during Christmas dinner.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, got a pizza. Got to get out to the back 40 real quick.
Yep.
There was Sam, I talked before we started a little bit. I was telling Todd, but I brought 2 guns down. I've got a Browning A5 and a Weatherby Element. I brought an extra in case anyone had issues, but I was just telling Todd before we started, I was cleaning them. And I don't know what you guys do to that red dirt or dust down there, but I probably spent an hour and a half on each one. There was red everywhere, inside and outside on those things.
That's that red clay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I was thinking about. I had a canister full of bullets before I went down. I think I came back with 1 container of bullets, one little box of bullets. So we definitely had some shots. So definitely put some bullets through the gun.
Yep.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Mark, I would rather not have to spend all that time cleaning firearms and that kind of stuff after being out in it. But I mean, that's Texas for you. That's just that's how it is. It was. It was
that's
dusty.
Why Sam strictly bow hunts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm up in a tree, so I'm not rolling around the dirt with my bow.
That's what some of the guys I brought with me, I brought shotgun socks down with me. And I had them put the sock on before we went out to the field. And they were like, I don't need that. I got a sling. And I was like, you're going to want it. Trust me.
Yeah.
You get to laying it down when you're setting out the spread and stuff. And you need to protect it, period. And Joel experienced that on the first morning. His shotgun wasn't cycling, and he was having a hell of a time, getting really frustrated with it. And that's one of those things. I mean, the upkeep of your firearm or whatever you're using is important because it can affect your success in the field.
No, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really, really dry this year. They said that the outfitter said that they've been in extended drought now. And so, yeah, my boots my boots are caked with that red dirt. It was just so dusty everywhere. Excuse me. So
yeah, that's how it goes.
yeah.
I don't have. We got a little bit of the red dirt out where we're at, but I mean it's just, I mean, it's windy, it's dusty, it's, there's
that wind in Texas is brutal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It'll change a hunt for you real quick.
I can imagine.
So
especially out there in the plains in Lubbock, there more of the plains.
Yeah, y'all are out there where it's flat. I'm out there where it's flat as in no vegetation growing higher than like 12 feet, but y'all are out there where it's flat. So
nothing, right? You see forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said right on the plains. So
yeah, and I wanted to make sure that we hit in this episode too for anybody tuning in that might not be a waterfowler or might not have, gotten into sandhill crane or that kind of stuff, kind of some of the importance of that, because there's always a perception. There's a perception with hunting in general that you're just doing it for sport, and we all know, and I would hope most people tuning this podcast know and understand the other things as far as the benefits of, you're hunting for meat, and you guys have already alluded to that as far as, utilizing these birds and everything for meat and putting food on the table with them and everything, not just shooting for sport or anything like that, but then also just with waterfowl in general, and then speaking specifically to sandhill cranes, just the conservation benefits with preventing crop damage and some other stuff for these environments like the flat West Texas plains out there. You got a lot of crops and everything out there, and without waterfowl hunting, without crane hunting, that's a huge environmental impact, a negative impact that birds can have on crops and that kind of stuff. And so I know that's always an important topic I feel like to touch on when we talk about hunts like this, is making sure folks understand the other benefits, the conservation side and the management side of hunting, in addition to the provision side. So
especially when you consider the factors that we had just talked about a few seconds ago, with how dry it's been down there and how much farmers have lost crops simply because they're not getting enough water on them. You know what I mean? And now you add all these birds migrating to that area on top of it, and that just, reduces their crop, reduces their crop exponentially, which means that they're not making enough money as they should to be able to make a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, to your point, it's incredibly important that we're able to look at the conservation side and help maintain the herd a little bit. And that's a lot of the reason why we go up for the snow goose hunt. That's why they have a conservation hunt. The snow geese are absolutely destroying the Canadian ecosystem up there. They're absolutely destroying it. And I've even heard this year they came down even later. So they were up there. In fact, I heard when we went down to Texas, there were still snow geese way up into Canada yet. So
really?
because of the way the weather was going. And the longer they're up there, the more they destroy. And you're talking with snow geese, you're talking millions of birds when you go out. You know what I mean? We went to Mountain City there for a few years, and it was not uncommon to have, like I said, in one sit, when you sit the morning, to have hundreds of thousands of birds fly over the top of you. There were times we'd go into the lodge and we'd sit there in the lodge, and there were birds in the sky for as far as you could see.
Wow.
So it's very, very important to take that conservation role, because they destroy the ecosystem, plain and simple. If that happens up in different areas, I guess I allude to Canada, they've absolutely just crushed it. I wish Andy were on here. He'd be able to tell you a little bit more specifics on that, but they're doing a lot of damage, and we need to help them. We need to help people out. We need to help the farmers. We need to help reduce the herd, because not only that, but the birds. Think about it. If you have millions of birds trying to eat the same thing, going to the same fields, there isn't going to be a lot of food left, So there's going to be a lot of birds that die from starvation, for example, just because there's too many birds. And so that's why it needs to happen.
It all starts spiraling out of control without the hunter in the mix. So
in that conservation hunt that we go on to, we talked about the fact that with cranes, we have to have a plug in the gun. We can't have any more than 3 bullets. We can't shoot more than 3 cranes per day. With the conservation hunt, that snow goose hunt, there are no restrictions. You can shoot as many birds as you want. on my gun, I have an extender tube, which means I can put, I believe 9 shells in the extended tube and one in the barrel. So I got 11 shells in my gun at a time, and so it's my shoulder gets awful sore when you get enough volleys in it. You empty your gun. Yeah, it's but I mean, you really need that. You really do need that. So
yeah, absolutely. What remind me, Todd, when is the snow goose hunt with Andy?
So it really depends. So that's the thing. It really depends on the migration. And like Andy told us when we were in camp, he's like, guys, we're going to hold this in North Dakota, but you have to be ready to pack up and go because right now we're getting a whole bunch of snow. This is a bunch of snow that we've had for the first time in a while. The snow geese follow the snow line. So if we're getting a bunch of snow, they're going to go further south. As the snow melts, they'll start migrating north. So it's kind of, they fluctuate based on the snow line. Typically, so last year when we went that last full week in March. So just before spring break, we went. We've gone to Missouri beginning of March. We've gone middle March. I know Tyler said that he was trying to set something up in Missouri for the end of February this year. So but with that being said, the first snow goose hunt that we ever set up was at the end of February, and we had to cancel because we had a polar vortex come down and it pushed all the birds further south. So all the birds that were in that area migrated south, and then they migrate back up when it starts warming back up. So so it's really, really important to follow the migration reports. Right now they're in Arkansas. They're trickling down into Texas even more. They're in Georgia. So that's where the majority of the geese are. I just looked at the report yesterday, and that's where a lot of the geese are being reported right now. If it starts warming up, they'll start, heading up this way. So it really depends on the migration.
Gotcha.
And like Andy said, it could be snowy today. It could be 60 tomorrow and all melt tomorrow. And by Monday, geese are in town. You guys got to pack up, get here.
Right.
So
yeah, that might be an episode we have to do here in a month or two, with Andy, maybe following the potential, snow goose hunt for the team in North Dakota, because that would be cool to kind of not just to get Andy on here just in general, period, but also to hear a little bit more detail, maybe some stuff about the conservation side and migration, and we can dive into that a little bit with him, because that is his wheelhouse 100%. And not just screening anybody here, because I know, Mark, you're a big waterfowl guy too. I know you probably have some thoughts and can weigh in on that as well.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. We have these diver ducks here that sit out on our Great Lakes, and they, similar to snow geese, they follow the cold. So kind of almost the second it hits like below 30 degrees, I mean, they're here, and once it kind of gets above that, they're gone, man. And so you got to hunt them while you can, just like the snow geese.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like you said, Todd, you got to pack up and go.
Yep.
Be on the ready. Yep.
Yeah.
In fact, Kendra got a hold of me and said, "Hey, when is that snow goose hunt? I might come up and see you." I go, well, it's sometime between February and April.
So that's a little more challenging to drive across the country, in her case, to get there. So
so that's why
I plan on driving that way, because I'm definitely going to want to mount a snow goose, because we don't get them here in Michigan. So I'll probably bring a truck and a trailer, because I told Andy and I got to talking, and I got decoys in the barn for some reason, snow goose decoys, and I'll probably drive out there, and I won't red eye anything this time, because that sucked when Todd and I did it on the way home from Texas.
Kess did too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I remember, I think it was 2019, guy that was on our team at the time, still a good friend of mine, Chester Barnes. Him and I went on a antelope hunt in Montana. That was the second year we went, and that was the year we were unsuccessful. going up there, we spent the night in Colorado, driving to Montana from Texas and coming back. It's like, do we want to drive straight through? And he's like, dude, I drive at night all the time. Let's go. And we did. We spent like he did most of the driving, I'll give him credit. And he was a freaking stud. But yeah, it was like 25 hours straight on the road coming back. And golly, that was a haul. Whew. That was a lot.
Yeah, yes, it was. I remember doing that when I lived in Houston when I moved out of my parents' house. I was 21, I believe, at that time. Decided to move down to Houston. So it wasn't like moving it to an apartment in town. I was like, hey, where are you going? I'm going to Houston. So I lived in Houston with a buddy of mine. And I remember when I came home and I decided to come home, my parents came down to help me pack my stuff up and haul some of my stuff. And we were driving. It was about a 22-hour drive, I believe, straight through. Yeah. And they wanted to stop in Missouri somewhere. And I'm like, I'm going to keep going. So I ended up driving the whole way. And it was this time of year, too, because I remember running into an ice storm. But yeah, 22 and 52 are totally different.
A little bit different ball game.
Well, that was the funny part when we got back. I mean, we drove all through the night. We probably got back to my house about at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, I had a group of guys from Indiana that came with us. Well, one of the guys was one of my better friend's sons. He's only 15. So he didn't have to drive at all. He slept in the back of Mark's truck from Texas in the back of my truck from Kansas to Indiana. We get back at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to fix myself a pot of coffee and he's yawning and stretching. Oh, that wasn't too bad. I was like, you know what?
Speak for yourself, man.
I bet it wasn't.
He's like, I'm wide awake.
Oh man.
I know I came home and Heather was already up when we got home. Mark and I got home. It was like 9:30, I believe, in the morning. And first thing she said was, drop your stuff. I'll take care of it. Go to bed. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue. Yeah. And as soon as I hit the out. Yeah.
Yeah. Say less. Golly.
Yeah, exactly.
You picked a good one.
You had mentioned decoys and a thought I had was with the crane hunt. We had several decoys out there, but I don't know if we had more than 100 decoys out there.
No. Yeah, I would agree with that.
We had more geese out, but the geese are smaller, obviously smaller size decoys. And even that, we may have been maybe 150, 200 out at that setup. Comparing that to snow geese, when we used to go up to Mountain City, geez, they would throw a couple thousand out. So they would cover the field with snow geese. Andy has anywhere between 50 and 100. So a little smaller seller. Those things can get expensive though if you go out and start really, trying to buy in bulk. Those can get very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom always walks out to the barn and sees those back there, and she's like, "Do you really need that many?" I was like, "Yeah, and even if I don't, that's assets right there."
Yeah. We got to talking about it on the drive down there because we had stopped in Rogers in Missouri and was checking out some of the decoys for some of the guys that wanted to get into waterfowl hunting, and they kind of seen the price tag on a lot of this stuff and was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, we got a bunch of guys at work that are getting into this 3D printing now. I was like, I bet you could 3D print these. It would not be that difficult. You'd have to be an artist with your paint job after the fact, but 3D printing decoys in general.
Make it your own. Make $1 million.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Right.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Create your own decoy brand that way. Do something creative.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm not an artist though, so I couldn't paint them.
Yeah, have to hire somebody with some
like
skills.
Yeah,
like snow geese would be fairly easy to paint, I think, because they just got black tips on the tail and on the wings, right?
Yeah.
When I was younger, kind of just getting into it, that's how I would do it. Is I'd go pay $30 for a random bag of them off Facebook Marketplace, and I'd take them home. And don't get me wrong, I'm no artist either, Kess, but I do the best I can to kind of touch them up a little bit, and eventually till they got kind of worn out, and I got some nicer ones. But that's how I started out.
So, and then I did notice too, just doing some research, that if you find some with blems on them, obviously they're less expensive. And if our audience doesn't know what blems are some kind of manufacturing defect, whether it's a little dent, a chunk taken out of it somewhere, some sort of defect on the decoy itself that they sell at a reduced price. And honestly, a bird flying over, they aren't going to say, "Oh, that one's got a blem on it, I'm going to keep flying." I know that that's not real. That's
right.
they don't think that way. But if you want to talk about, investing in decoys and do it in a way that it doesn't break the bank, certainly look for blems, or used ones. I've even seen used ones out there.
Yeah, so. And that's the thing is there's all sorts of different ones. Like my personal favorite is foam filled. And if you shoot them, the BB goes through and it kind of sucks back up so the decoy doesn't leak. And if we're ever shooting, you can kind of pick up and you might hear the BB rattle around, and guys will be like, "Oh, sorry, man." I'm like, "No worries, dude. That's just the decoys doing their job right, man."
Yeah, that's what I was kind of going through. So I was telling you guys that I put the goose in, so I pulled the geese out and chopped it up and threw it in the crock pot here. And that's kind of what I was going through as well, because you could see where some of them were hit with pellets and stuff, because it's always a pleasant surprise when you're chewing birds and all of a sudden you hit a BB. Yeah. Like, oh boy.
Man, my dad will, he's pheasant hunted, but he doesn't really bird hunt. And whenever I make it, he likes it, but whenever I make it, he'll spit a BB out and he'll go, "A little far backward on that one, Mark."
Well, one of the questions I wanted to ask, I know we're getting close to that time mark we normally shoot for, but I mentioned at the beginning that I am someone who has never been sandhill crane hunting, so I wanted to paint it in a hypothetical scenario and give you guys a chance, if you are educating somebody like me or anybody listening who has never done this, wants to do it, as far as gear, weapon, load, all that kind of stuff. What are your recommendations for your first time sandhill crane hunter?
I would say, and it's funny you mentioned that, because the first time I went out sandhill crane, I didn't know if I needed to wear camo. I didn't know if I needed to have all black on, because I didn't know what the blind was going to be like. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if to look like snow on the ground, so if I have to have snow camo, but really just any regular. So the last few times I've gone out, I've worn my regular deer hunting camo, because essentially, like I said, when you're brushed in, you're trying to blend in right with the woods itself. In terms of a gun, I have a Stoeger 3500, I believe, 12 gauge semi-auto, and so for me, it's easy just to keep pulling the trigger. But like Kess alluded to, sometimes you get that Texas dirt in there and it gets jammed up. So even pulling the trigger gets jammed up on you fairly quick, as opposed to if you get a pump shotgun, for example. But my preference is that semi-auto automatic, regardless of what brand it is. Definitely 12 gauge steel shot, BB steel shot. That's what I use too. 3.5 inch BB steel shot. That's what we use. So,
gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Biggest recommendation on my end is to open up your spread. Don't shoot a full choke out there, especially shooting BBs. I mean, BBs are going to hold a tighter group than anything else. Throw yourself a modified in there and just let it eat.
Come on, Kess.
We found out that Zach was shooting a full choke when he was down there. He didn't know what he had in the gun. He was like, "That kind of explains a lot." I'm like, "Yeah, open it up. Get your pride out of the way. Your job is to put birds down on the ground, not determine how good of a shot you are."
Now, with that being said, though, I did pose the question to the group because Lawson actually asked me. I took our dogs out chucker hunting here in Michigan, and I believe I had a modified choke on then. He said, "Well, if you're out shooting chuckers, why don't you just take the choke off?" I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I mean, chuckers are smaller than cranes, obviously. I didn't even think about it because the pattern really widens out. You open it up, like Kess just said. So I posed the question to the group: why don't we shoot without those on? You know what I mean? Why don't we just take them off and open up the pattern? And the consensus was you lose power that way. And honestly, man, there were a couple of volleys that we hit the birds, right? We hit birds, but they just kept
Mhm.
flying. You could actually see the birds get hit. They kind of dip and then they just keep flying, you know, or they go down way out in the field, and then we got to run out there and try to catch them or try to retrieve them, you know. So they are a very hardy animal, very much like deer. You shoot a deer, they take off running, and then you got to track them, right? I would say crane are very similar in that sense. They can take pellets, you know. And so if you go without a choke, you open up that spread, you lose power. Whereas if you have that choke, it keeps a tighter group, and that's where your power comes into being able to harvest crane. So
yeah.
I guess I want to respond to Kessler real quick a minute, but I would absolutely agree, Kess. You with something like that, you don't need a full. The only reason I did use a full choke is I had been using one for like the last 2 months and didn't want to really screw my other one in and then practice with that. I was already comfortable and confident with my full choke.
Right.
So I just brought that down. But do you need a full choke down there? I wouldn't say not really for that. My biggest recommendation, like you asked in the beginning there, excuse me, if you know anything about the waterfowl community, there has always been a big argument between 12 and 20 gauge. Some guys will say, "Oh, you don't need a 12 gauge. 20 gauge does the job just fine, and it doesn't leave you all sore and bruise up your shoulder." Where other guys, "Oh, you need that 12 gauge and this, that, and the other thing." I would say, if you were going to hunt sandhill cranes in Texas, I would bring that 12 gauge. I think they're just so big that you want that extra power where you can get it.
Yeah. The other thing I would suggest too is if you've never hunted geese, cranes, whatever, birds in general, you got to have experience with you. You got to have somebody who's experienced, whether it's through an outfitter or not. The first bird hunt I went on was that snow goose hunt with the Midwest crew, with Tyler, with Andy, with Heather. We had zero experience then. Tyler and Andy had all kinds of experience. So we learned a ton from them in terms of when you should shoot, the behaviors of the bird prior to getting, like, for example, the biggest thing I learned is they come down, snow geese, for example, they'll come down, but then they always do a circle. So they don't come down close enough to get a shot. And I guarantee that if we didn't have Andy and Tyler with their experience, I guarantee we would have popped up and tried to take a shot at them without realizing they're not even in range. You know what I mean? So if you don't have experience, make sure you have somebody experienced that can tell you when it's time to shoot, that can give you good direction on where they're coming from. Because a lot of times when you're sitting in the blind, you can hear them, but you can't see them. You know what I mean? And so if you have somebody directing you as to where to look when you pop up, that definitely benefits everybody. And so I would say that's probably the biggest thing if you don't have experience. Obviously, as you get more experience, and you kind of get a feel for the behaviors and things that you're looking for. But
yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah, that I feel like for most different kinds of hunting and stuff, obviously we all know or have had somebody in our lives of some capacity that's had some influence or mentorship on us when it comes to hunting, whether it's deer, waterfowl, turkey, any of the above. So it's yeah, there's always value in that for sure.
Absolutely.
And I'll throw one more thing in there too as a recommendation. Obviously, what we did was a guided hunt, and we were only down there for 2 days. So obviously, we're through an outfit and everything else. But if you're trying to go out there and do something like this solo, it's just like any other species. You're going to have more time in getting out there and scouting than what you are on the actual hunt. I mean, as Todd alluded to earlier, I mean, our setup time, yeah, was one thing, but from the time we started shooting to when we were limited out was, less than an hour and a half, 2 hours. So when push comes to shove, your scouting is important. That's one of the largest things about being a conservationist or even just an outdoorsman in general, getting out there and enjoying your time and God's creation and being able to soak all that in and gain as much intel as you can before you ever pursue that animal. It's got to be a fair chase.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that for sure. Well, guys, anything that we're missing aside from Andy? Is anything that we're missing about this story or anything else y'all want to add before we wrap it up?
They taste good. That's about all everybody needs.
Yeah, yes, they do.
The crane tastes amazing. Yeah, the crane tastes amazing. The only thing this time I noticed I have some drums in the bag. And during past hunts, we didn't keep the drums. The guides who are the people that processed it for us said, yeah, you don't want to keep the drums. I've heard that before too with wild turkey. You don't want to keep the drums because they're really tough and really, really gamey. So you breast it out, keep that meat. And so that's what we did before. This outfitter said, no, keep the drums. You can peel it off and throw it in a stew and it's just as good. So it'll be interesting to try drum, but it's really good meat, really good food.
Ribeye of the sky.
There's also, if I could add to that, Todd, and this might upset some of my farming buddies if they're seeing this, but I will go as far as to say crane is better than any cow, deer, or duck I've ever had, or goose.
Absolutely. In fact, Tyler greeted us. Mark and I were the last ones in camp. Andy, Kess, and his buddies came in a day earlier. When Mark and I got there, they greeted us with crane.
Yeah.
Tyler had cooked up some crane.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's a bold statement, Mark. You threw beef in there, man.
I know.
That's a bold statement.
It's getting touchy.
Well, good deal. Well, I want to plug for our listeners, y'all's couch chat. At the time, if you guys are tuning in live, it has not been posted yet, but by the time that this episode is posted to all the podcast and streaming platforms, the couch chat is going to be live or published and available on our YouTube channel and Carbon TV. For those that don't know, the couch chat series, Todd, that's kind of become your baby a little bit, and you've taken that over. But it's a kind of a raw, unfiltered video podcast series for our staff members and our team, and you're working in some other guests now and trying to expand it a little bit, which is awesome. But all that is to say, you did a couch chat actually in Crane Hunt with the whole crew. So if folks want to tune in and actually hear some of the excitement, especially from the new hunters that were in camp, and then again just get that authentic hunting camp feel to a conversation and hanging out with the guys, go check out that couch chat. It'll be on those platforms, or again, if you're listening live, it'll be coming out next week.
And that's what that whole show was about, authenticity, right? And we were able to, like I said, talk to Mark and talk to Joel and talk to those guys that had never been on the hunt before. And this was right after our hunt. So, I mean, it was, fresh in their minds. So it was fun. Lots of fun.
Those are always my favorite conversations, man. The ones that come from camp, those have always been my favorite episodes to record with people and that kind of stuff. So it's always fun to go back and reflect and remember a trip through that show and everything. I've always enjoyed that, and you guys certainly will with that conversation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys, thank you all for joining me for a Fall Obsession podcast episode. Appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we will have to do it again, and at some point get Andy and Tyler back on the show as well. I was hoping Andy would pop in here with a fish, sitting out there in a nice fishing tent, but
I've been watching my phone to see if he's said anything, but the last thing he said was, "Got to find him." That's all he said. I just have this vision of him wandering around on this lake looking for fish.
We can all see it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's Andy.
That is Andy. We love us some Andy. Well, guys, for our listeners, thank you all for tuning in, either just on your regular podcast apps or to the live show. Always appreciate it. Be back with you guys again next week for another Fall Obsession podcast, and I will catch y'all then.
Stay obsessed.